What's going on, everybody? Welcome back to the FF Face-Off. My name is Michael Hoff, and I'm coming at you today with our kicker streamers. If you can believe it or not, week 14, and we are in December already. So we're going to give you 3 kickers here that you can stream. Now, a lot of you guys had said you're very worried about this week. There's a lot of bye weeks. A lot of the juicier matches ups are held by kickers that are high roster, but I've got some gems here for you that are going to help you out if you don't have one of those top tier kickers. I will just say in 5 of the last 6 weeks, I've given you at least one kicker to finish inside the top 12. Let's make it 6 out of 7, and let's start off with Mr. John Parker Romo being rostered in 11% of leagues, kicking the ball for the Minnesota Vikings. Over the last 3 weeks, John Parker Romo has been 6th in terms of fantasy points scored at the kicking position. This would also go along with in 3 out of the 4 games that he's played. He's scored at least 13 points. So the one thing we want to take a look at here is Reichert was coming off of IR supposedly. Now he's available to. Does he not? We need to watch that. So monitor that as you go, especially in terms of if you're going to make a waiver wire pickup. We'll see what we hear beyond this recording, which, by the way, I will answer all comments as this week progresses. But regardless of who is kicking the ball from Minnesota, I am going to be starting them going up against this Falcons defense, which, by the way, will be indoors this game. Atlanta is allowing the second most points to kickers. That would include last week, in which they allowed 12 points to Mr. Cameron Dicker. Going a little bit further in there, even though that was the first game in which they've allowed 10 or more points, that being the Falcons to kickers since week 7, they have been consistent in points that they have allowed on the season. The Falcons are one of 7 teams to allow double-digit fantasy points on a per-game basis. Along with that, they're also one of 6 teams without a single game of allowing less than 5 points. So they're always allowing at least 6 points or more, a lot of 7 points or more, a lot of double-digit games. So I like this matchup quite a bit. Last but not least, the Falcons are a perfect 28 for 28 in terms of field goal attempts allowed. So definitely check that out. I will just let you guys know before we go to the next kicker, these numbers are all based on, this is before Monday Night Football's been played, but obviously these rankings won't change too much. Next kicker on our list is going to be Mr. Nick Folk, and this is the first time that Nick Folk is making this lovely program. But listen, with 6 teams on bye, it's with good reason. He's tied, though, for first in terms of field goal percentage with 93%. He's going up against a Jacksonville Jaguars team that is allowing the 11th most points to the position. They also have 8 games in which they've allowed 10 or more points. That's tied for the second most in the NFL. So I can get behind that idea as well. Along with that, more recently, the Jaguars have allowed 10 plus points to the position in 4 of their last 5 games. It's these sort of numbers that have the Jacksonville Jaguars allowing the 3rd most points over the last 3 weeks. So if we dig into this a little bit further, I will just say the Titans kicker, that being Nick Folk, has had 2 games with 10 or more points, but he's scored at least 8 or more points in his last 3 games. So not a lot of 10 spots here, but he has been consistent as of late, so we love to see that. He's been good for the kicker number 3 over the last 3 weeks. So there you go. I will just say last but not least, because I know we had the Tyler Bass thing last week. A lot of you guys asked me about that because the snow in the forecast. Bass of my picks was not one of the best. Joey Sly was number 1. Also Matthew Wright of the Chiefs. But if you're interested in this sort of thing, there is weather in the forecast. 46% chance of rain. This game is going to be played in Tennessee. Occasional showers, though. Doesn't sound like anything too demonstrative, but you could take a look at the forecast as the week goes. The forecasts always change. So much like that forecast change that got worse and worse out there in Buffalo for Sunday night. So keep an eye on that. Last thing I'll just say before we move on to the last kicker. If you're looking ahead, Nick Folk does play this same Jaguars team in week 17, which will be your fantasy football championships for most of you. So if you see something you like in this matchup, if he pops here, which that's the expectation, that's why he's on this column. If he pops, feel free to keep him around for week 17 or keep him in mind for week 17. Let's get to our last kicker, though. We're going to go with Mr. Evan McPherson, pretty sure it's the first time he's making this column as well. He's going up against the Dallas Cowboys. This is a Monday Night Football game. He's being rostered in 35% of leagues. By the way, I don't even think I mentioned Nick Folk as I scroll up a little bit here. Nick Folk is being rostered in just 6% of leagues. So McPherson is the highest of all the plays I'm giving you this week. I debated both kickers in these matchups. Reason I debated Aubrey in this matchup is because Aubrey of the Cowboys I believe he's kicked the second most field goals of 50 yards or more. So that's something to keep an eye on if you can't get McPherson. But the Cowboys started the season allowing just 10 points to kickers just once in the first 5 weeks. In the last 7 games, they've allowed 10 or more points 5 times. So the script has flipped in terms of what the Cowboys are allowing to the kicking position. In terms of McPherson, he hasn't had a 10-point game since week 9, but 2 out of those 3 games have come against defenses that were in the top 5 and fewest points allowed. So hasn't had the best matchups. I do like this matchup in particular. Road games also have been more favorable to McPherson. He is averaging 1 point more when he's playing on the road than when he's playing at home, which makes sense because the Bengals are an absolute nightmare when they're at home for some reason. 2 out of his 3 games with 10 or more points have come on the road also. So keep that in mind. But if you can't get McPherson, you want to play Aubrey, you could do that. I like him. He's an honorable mention in this column. But again, those are my 3 kickers here for week 14. John Parker Romo, Nick Folk, Evan McPherson. 2 of them are going to be indoors. One's going to be outdoors, but it's only going to be rain. It's going to be in Tennessee. Feel free to slam the chat here. Ask any questions you need. Feel free to like this show. And let's win it again with a kicker. If kickers are in your league, they matter. But until next time, folks, stay thirsty. Be kind to one another. We'll catch you guys on the flip side. Cheers.